Yeah, you're audible. Please type your, yes, we are live now.
All right. I think we should start, and maybe as
Yeah,
we go on, people can join in later
yes,
on.
yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So,
And we
So
are
hello
also live
everyone. Good
online.
evening.
yeah, we are live now on Facebook.
Okay. We are live?
Yeah, we are live.
Okay, good. So hello everyone. Good evening. I hope I'm audible to everyone. So I, on behalf of Enazuri, would like to welcome you all who've just joined in for today's webinar. I'm Minakshi, and I will be co-hosting today's session along with Pooja Kotoke. You can see her in the participant list. So Pooja and I will be co-hosting today's session.
Hello
And
everyone.
hello, I can hear some other noise in the background.
Yeah, hi, this is Pooja here.
Okay, hello Pooja, hi.
Hi.
Okay. So today's webinar is basically a collaboration of Enazuri along with Quantum Quest. And Quantum Quest, some of you might be knowing, is basically a youth group from Assam which is working on STEM education. And before we start with the session, just a little brief about Enazuri. So Enazuri is basically a non-profit platform. And the idea here is basically to engage and promote, various kinds of initiative that are striving for social change, leadership building, entrepreneurship, and other similar ventures. Just not just in Assam, but also other parts of the Northeast. And during the course of the last few months, we've been conducting several virtual meetups and webinars, and we've invited speakers across a range of fields, and we've been trying to create these networks amongst people who have been working in different sectors in the Northeast. So today, the subject of discussion today will be education, which is particularly we will be focusing on primary education. And given the current times that we are living in, amidst so much of uncertainty in a pandemic situation, I think education is a very, very crucial sector that really needs to be discussed, and we need to really think of alternate ways, and it is one of the most hard hit sectors that have been affected by the pandemic. So we're very fortunate to be having amongst us Mr. Niladri Bora, who is the co-founder of NE8, and NE8 is an organization which has been working in Assam. So NE8 is basically Northeast Center for Equity Action on Integrated Development. And Mr. Bora has been working with this organization, and he runs an initiative through his organization called Ekikaran. And Ekikaran is a project that has been focusing since 2014, which has been focusing primarily on whole school transformation. And his project site is, it started off with Moregaon in Moregaon district, and they have been working with a number of rural primary schools in Moregaon district. And Mr. Bora has remained an Acumen Fellow for the year 2016, and he's also a Teach for India X Fellow for the year 2019. So I'm pretty sure we'll have a very engaging session today with Mr. Bora. And I think just to set a few ground rules before we start off with the session, we will start off with the presentation by Mr. Bora, and we'll keep all our questions for the end so that there's no disruption in connection. And I request everyone if we could just keep ourselves, just to turn off our videos and just keep ourselves on mute, so that because I think the speaker will be using a PPT, so that there's no disruption in the connection. I'll request you to do that, and we can have the questions towards the end of the session, and it will be taken up by Mr. Niladri Bora. So I hand the session over to Mr. Bora. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Meenakshi, for the introduction, and hello, good evening, everyone. So I'll be sharing a PPT, and I'll switch off my video, so that my audio is clear to all of you. So I'm sharing my PPT. Just a second. Yeah. Can you see my PPT?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, great, great. So good evening again, and so I'm going to talk about whole school transformation program called Ekikaran, which is a program under NEA. And Ekikaran means bringing things together. So it's a whole school transformation is a holistic
So,
program.
so your voice is breaking.
Is it breaking?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
now it's fine.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Great. So we are talking about whole school transformation program called Ekikaran. Ekikaran means bringing all things together. So we are working with multiple stakeholders. We're working on multiple components and bringing things together, keeping child at the center. So this is the sense of our name called Ekikaran. And we're working in rural public schools and low-income private schools in Morigaon. And before going to the technical part of the presentation, I just want to share a quote which resonates with my work and why I am doing. Uh, the quote says, as all children need is a little help, a little hope, and somebody who believes in them. I believe that the current public schooling system in Northeast had missed to provide this, due to which children feel challenged when they go to higher classes or colleges due to lack of communication skills, confidence, inability to articulate things, etc. I guess you may not heard about this a lot, but when I interacted with many children and graduates when we designing the program, they informed that they have gone through this in their schools and colleges. So before starting the organization or maybe this program, I was always wondering, and because we have done a lot of formative research and we have redesigned our program twice. So I was always wondering, are we providing what children need in public schools or not? My answer will be probably not. And if we go deeper and ask why not, then like this, there are multiple reasons, and like some of them are conventional learning practices based on rote learning, their age-old learning practices, lack of value-driven curriculum, lack of emotional support to create a belief in themselves, you know, lack of 21st century skills, IT skill, ICT in academics, etc. Lack of understanding among different stakeholders what children need. There's a total uh, disalignment among SMCs, among parents, teachers, like what children need. Children are sometimes decisions are taken not keeping children at the center. Broken is school system like proxy teachers, poor infrastructure. Many of the school doesn't have electricity. And to couple up with this, there's an issue of poverty and hunger in the community. So where it's going and where it will end up. So there's a vicious circle of poverty and uncertainty generation after generation, which we can see in tea garden areas, tribal communities where we work. I feel the ray of hope in this communities is to provide better schooling system in public schools to cut the line of uncertainty. The quality education, which will help them to take informed decisions for their life choices and lead a better life. Irrespective of what they do in their life, they should able to take decisions and they should take the things which is best for them. So this is like uh, what we see when we provide better schooling system. So how we can facilitate the process and what is our theory of change? So in order to achieve quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities in Northeast India, we'll complement the existing public school system by strengthening the structures and processes and aligning the beliefs and practices of the school ecosystem. And this will be achieved through Ekikaran fellows selected from the community who will build and sustain a school culture keeping child at the center. One thing I would like to stress here is when we talk about school dropout, poor learning outcomes, poor involvement of parents in child's learning, all these are the tip of the iceberg. When we go to the bottom of the iceberg, we'll see that the structures and processes and beliefs and practices are the underlying factors which we need to address to overcome this uh, learning outcomes. So what is our strategy in field to achieve our larger vision? To build a school and community as a unit of change through intervention in 6 thematic areas of whole school transformation. And when we talk about scale and sustainability, then we have to complement the existing system. We have to, we strongly believe that we can't create and run a parallel system to what government is doing. So we have to complement the existing system to make it more efficient and responsive. So how our program in school look like? So it's a two-way intervention, inside the classroom intervention and outside the classroom intervention. So inside the classroom intervention, first is innovative teaching practices, inculcating values and mindset, and academic focus. And outside the classroom intervention, we have community investment, where we make parents involved in the child's learning. I think the current crisis due to COVID-19 have given us an opportunity to connect better with the parents and community as a whole. Then extracurricular activities to create interest in the students, which increase the attendance and to create confidence level in the students. School management, where we empower SMCs to take ownership for the sustainability and to make school ecosystem more supportive for the children. And along with that, we work on policy advocacy. So we are working on few of the papers, publications, which help them, which will help us in pushing policy changes and for systemic change. Yeah. And since when we started, first we went with the pilot in the school, and in 2020 we were supposed to launch our full program after a few changes in the program, but due to this current crisis, the program implementation plan couldn't be executed, and we have changed our program based on the current needs. So few of the achievements that we had during our pilot. So this is one of the photo, and it's one of my favorite also. It's a photo of an invested teacher. She's proudly showing the model on water harvesting, which won first prize in an exhibition. So what we have achieved so far in the pilot phase. So improvement in the grades, as we know, Assam government have Gunotsav. So the schools where we are working were in C grade, were in B grade, got A+ or A++ grades. We have able to create an ecosystem for critical thinking. We improved, there's improvement in class appropriate learning levels, able to create joyful and holistic learning spaces for the students, increase participation of parents, teachers, essential child's learning, teacher learning circles where they give feedback, share their ideas, and differential learning practices. Since everyone's capability are not the same, and we have to understand them, support them, and believe in them. So these are like broad achievements that we had during our pilot phase. And since, as I mentioned, we couldn't execute what we planned for the year 2020, so we have adapted to the current situation. And how we adapted to the current situation raised due to COVID-19 pandemic, they are based on the interaction with our partners, our teachers, our parents, SMCs, and all. So we have conducted awareness campaign in the community before, I think, lockdown. We did it in the second week of March. We were the communities, tea garden communities mostly, because they're a very close community. And we did awareness campaign along with our fellows and teachers. We supported the BPL families under our intervention area, the school area. Virtual engagement with teachers and SMC, which we do regularly. Capacity building of team, because this is a good time when we can engage, we can inculcate good, skill set in our team. And then ensuring that children don't miss what they usually do on a normal day in their school. So during one of our meeting with our teachers, because we initially started with virtual platforms to send daily activities to our students, but that didn't worked out well because around 25 to 30% of students can only have only mobile phones and internet facilities. So it didn't work out in the areas where we work. So so we put it across to our teachers during our virtual meeting, and we got a very good idea from one of the teachers that why can't we engage volunteers from the same community and who stays nearby the child. So we worked on it, and we design a program called Reach the Unreached. The parameters are almost the same what we have designed for a normal school and normal schooling days, and only the intervention uh, intervention way, the way we are intervening with the program is little different. So what we have done in Reach the Unreached, under Reach the Unreached program is we engage volunteers from the community with the help of SMC members, and those volunteers stay in 1 to 2 kilometer radius. These volunteers deliver worksheets, daily activity prepared by Ekikaran team teachers, which comprises of videos, worksheets, and assignment. For example, during World Environment Day, we have given assignment, we have given activity to our children to plant one tree in their compound. So these are the activities that we do with the help of volunteers. And they also share feedback about each student and report student progress to the fellows, so that fellow, if required, fellow can directly intervene with the student. And each volunteer mentor 25 to 30 students. They also interact with the parents to make them invest in a child's learning. So this is a way where we try to engage parents in the child's learning first. Second, the child should learn for self, should try to do self learning, and the continuous learning should be there even the schools are not there. And then we conduct, these volunteers also conduct awareness activities in discussion with SMC members. And so I must say about the fellows, because they are very uh, critical actor in our entire program. So this fellow, initially when in our pilot phase, we term it as school development coordinators. Now we call it fellow. And this year we have launched the fellowship program. So to transform a school and this, and while working in this situation, I think our fellows played a very crucial role. The young graduates with human qualities like great relationship, compassion, sense of possibility join us for 2 years in a full-time paid position as a fellow. And in the process, they grow as a development professional. So during our pilot, two school development coordinators, and now we call it fellows. So one of them joined government job in the social welfare department. Other moved on to learn more and join Hands Foundation. So this is how the transition from fellow to a lifelong, um, to a lifelong social development professional who is indirectly or directly connected to education and who works for the betterment of the education in Northeast. So in the process of building the school and community as a unit of change, fellow also grow as a future leader. So during the process, they will learn how to work in teams, think critically to meet the challenges, solve complex problems. They will plan purposefully to achieve the program outcomes in next 2 years. They have to execute the plan, which is designed and conceptualized by program managers, by our design consultants, and also they have to communicate with the stakeholders inside and outside the organization with a larger goal to transform the school ecosystem, keeping child at the center. So what we are planning to achieve in next 4 years. in next 4 years, we're planning to work with 8,400 students, around 250 plus teachers, 84 schools with 20 fellows, with a cost per child of around 84 rupees. That's the plan that we have in next 4 years. But since considering this year, I think it will little change. So with this, I think I'll end my presentation. And yeah, before just closing, I just want to share this one of the painting from one of the drawing done by our student. So one of the activities they have to write or draw something about COVID-19, and this is one of the drawing that we got from one of our students. So it's I felt like sharing that with you all. So that's it. And yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bora. That was indeed an amazing presentation. I just wanted to know if you could, elaborate a little on how you've actually, the model that you have prepared, as in like 2022, these many would be your schools, the number of schools, the number of teachers, and that would be, introduced to the Ekekaran model. Could you just elaborate a little on how you have designed that model, and also, your partnering, donor, how the fundraising has been done, and also the third part would also be the fellowship program that you just mentioned about. If you could just elaborate, because that would perhaps also interest some of the youth community who might reach
Yeah.
out later on. So if you
Yeah.
could just elaborate a little.
Yeah. So first is about our like plan in next 4 years is so it's a design that have few of the things like I think I mentioned in the PPT is in first 2 years we'll set school as a unit of change or community as a unit of change in a cluster, and in third and fourth year we'll move up this out of the school, and this school will be a model for that particular cluster. Then we won't have a fellow, but our current team will be there to support it. So in the second phase, this schools, the fellows will be our mostly our teachers, and in the same cluster, this school where we have worked for 2 years will be a model, and the best practices will be transferred to this schools which are in the same cluster. This is our scale plan. So in that case, we plan to move to one district to another every 4 years. So once we are done with the 4 years in a district, we'll move to the other district. That's our scaling plan. And we because of that plan, we used to have a lot of interaction with other partners and all. And we are getting invite from the Arunachal, Nagaland and all to work in their schools. But for now, I think 2023 is a good time to go for the other states and all. This is our expansion plan. And regarding partners, we as an organization strongly believe is we don't need to reinvent a wheel again, and so we partnered with organizations like TFI, which is a knowledge partner for us, and we got the experience of TFI, which is working in this sector for last for 10 years. We got a lot of support with learnings from them and transferred it to our program. We have partners with like Life Labs in the Pune, who are working in the science, STEAM and all. And also recently we are in process of partnering with Mantra for Change, Education Above All. So all these organizations are there where we are partnering. I think we as an organization trying to bring the best practices from from other parts of the India to Northeast. And one thing we are very clear that this should be customized to the Northeast, need of the Northeast and what is, because things are really different when we put it across the other. Because when you see in the Bangalore, Delhi, virtual, platforms are well accepted during this lockdown, but in Northeast it's not working. So we are customizing what is the best practices going on across India, and what was regarding the fellowship. thing. So this is so we feel the fellowship is a way where we can bring in good energy to the program. You know, the people who comes with a sense of possibility, with a lot of grit. Because when working in the field, you need grit. You know, otherwise it's very difficult to sustain. So I think the fresh graduates, everyone wants to do something for the society. That I am very much sure. But they don't know how to do and how to engage and what, because it's like gain for both the for organization, for the children, for the school, as well as for the fellows. So we have designed our fellowship in such a way that it's a gain for everyone. So and so if you see the people who engage with us during the pilot, they have really grown, and we are really proud of them now. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes,
Yeah.
Pooja.
Hi. Sorry, like I missed out in between. My network just zoomed off. So, like, I'm not sure whether this question has been reached, but I want to ask you about, like, accessibility. Like in the pandemic time, like,
Hmm.
we are getting stories of, like, like parents dying just because you can't buy a smartphone. Like when you talked about reach the unreached, but you are
Yeah,
reaching to a very small community. So,
yeah.
like during this situation, if say in foreseeable future it goes on for another year, what
Hmm.
according to you feel like is effective means of reaching the children? Like we can talk to teachers, and because SSA, but they are having those technologically now. They are being aware, teachers,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
in deep villages, interiors, like if we talk about tea garden also, the biggest problem is like in tea garden we cannot expect, like parents to have a phone. So
Yeah,
like to reach a larger mass, what is your thought about what do you think is the most visible practical solution to the current scenario?
yeah. I agree with you that mobile phones access to mobile phones and internet is very limited. I think Honorable Education Minister also pointed out in one of the news channel that online may not be feasible across Assam. And since I'm just giving my example with the area where we work, it's a tea garden area. It's a Gopal Krishna tea garden area, and that's the same problem that you just mentioned. And so the idea came from SMC is that we can engage volunteers, because there are few people definitely in all the tea gardens. There are few people, young people, who have mobile phones and all. So whatever the content you want to transfer, you can transfer through those volunteers. And now when we engage the volunteers, all videos, suppose if we need to show any video to a student, the volunteers goes there and he or she shows the video to the child. And one of the important thing that we have to see when we engage with the people from, like when we engage a person, is the safety of the children. So when this people, because these young people are from the same community, they reside in 1 or 2 kilometer radius, so within that community, close community, they are staying. So this is one of the way, I think. And second, we have not tried it, and I'm telling you honestly, it's just the voluntary work that we have started, Reach the Unreached. It's working really well. It's really working well in all the areas where we are working. And the second is, I think the SMCs can play a really big role in this. And teachers, I think teachers, most of the teachers in the schools, they stay not near to the school. They stay little far. If you see the tech teachers and all, they used to travel from their home and to the school. So if they like going to the community every day won't be possible. And one thing we have to see, we have to keep in mind that we need the children to do self learning in this current situation, self learning, and there should be continuous learning process. And so how you can engage the children for
uh,
self learning?
Sorry
that's
to
important.
interrupt. Like,
Yeah.
you have said something very interesting. You talked about self-learning. So,
Yeah.
when you talk in the tea garden perspective, like they
Yeah.
might be the first generation learner.
Yeah.
So, like, the very idea of self-learning, how do you think is very practical in current times? If there's no like support or remedial, measures are being provided to them.
See, self-learning is part of our program. So when the schools are there, when the schools are functioning, we find it difficult for the child to, child, when we say ki you have to do this homework and come back, then we find it very difficult for the child to, listen to it. They don't do self-learning. But it's a very surprising to us also. But now these children are doing self-learning. So I heard stories from the field saying that they are waiting for the volunteers. So when suppose one of our things is giving worksheets, and just the volunteer is only a bridge between a fellow teacher and the student. So they are not technically sound to teach a lot of things with the or do a lot of answer to the queries to students. But in the current situation, it's very surprising for us also. They started, the students are engaged, they wait for the volunteers to come. They wait for the worksheets. And many times we give a assignment like you have to memorize, or you have to go through this poem or something. And next day we really surprised to see the student has put a lot of effort in after the volunteer work. So one-to-one engagement. I just want to again say my quote, like we need to believe in our believe in them, no. So I think the school, we miss to do differential learning, and because of that we miss to concentrate and believe or bring hope in each of the child. And now during volunteer, this during this crisis, and where when we are going to home interacting with one of the children like 10-15 minutes, they feel important. I think that may be the reason why we have seen change in their learning practices.
Yeah, like that's very interesting. Like, I just have another question for you. Like, from what I understand, like, where in rural areas, parents may not give them the amount of attention or, the required energy for their education. But when we talk about urban spaces, the whole situation is very different. So, like, now, like, children are continuously at home and parents are at home, like, now like the situation that have come up. In fact, like, my friends always keep on saying like it's a challenge to engage children, because for urban space children, like they have access to cell phone, and like they are overstimulated with information. So how do you think can be balanced in an urban space?
Okay, this is really a tough question for me. um, um, See, online online content. See, I just share with one of the example with my co-founder. He has a small kid, and they are having online classes. We and I was just observing the kid, and I can never, I can never imagine this online classes where there's no touch. More than when someone is with kids and all. When we are kid also, we need more affection, care, along with the learnings and all. This is not happening in online classes. I think this is what we missed. And if you see our example, it's there in our Reach for Unreach program. I think that's make a lot of difference. I don't know what would be the learning outcomes with the online uh, platforms and all, but I have to see, because I can't say now what is the learning outcomes, what is the progress. And there are a lot of things that are missing with these online platform learnings. I think the values and all which you learn from each other in the class and all. So for the current situation, I think this is how we can go. But yeah.
Yeah, so there is another question from Milind Datta.
Yeah, yeah.
So he have a question of like for your project and like the pilot studies that you have done, like have you approached any organization for your funding, or there is governmental support? Like, can you elaborate it?
Yes, sure. So we have so during the pilot, we are very particular with our funding because we have many times said no to the funding because it should the funder should come as a partner, not as just as a funder. So we got a funding from a German organization who is a very patient funder, and I'm very thankful for them. During the pilot, they have supported, and we are the first organization for them also to support in pilot phase. And being a new organization, also they usually support big organizations who have a like track record of 10-15 years, but they really like the idea of whole school transformation because there are very few organizations who are working whole school transformation. So this is what we got the funding from a German organization. And now I think since we established our pilot, this during this crisis also, we managed to get two fundings. One already we got apart from the German funding. One we got recently it's a um, within India we got the funding, and another is in process. Most probably by next 1 or 2 weeks we'll get the funding. So once you prove the model, you bring the changes, I think funding won't be a issue specifically in Northeast. But you have to share the story as well as your data. It's not only stories won't work on me. So both the ways. So yeah, that's our funding channel. Yeah.
Okay, so another part of the question is like, are you facing problem to get fellows from Northeast or like from Assam?
Yes. Maybe the cycle was not correct. We started our fellow we because our academic year starts in the month of January. So we thought to start the fellowship program from the month of January only, and we launched our fellowship in the month of November last year.
Okay.
And after the launch of the fellowship, there was the curfew and all because of the car and all. The atmosphere was not there. The campaign, that the way we are supposed to do the campaign, we're planning to do the campaign, we couldn't do it. And because one of our important part of the campaign is to go to colleges and to pitch for the fellowship so that we get the best graduates, that we couldn't do. So we find it very difficult to get the fellow, but we hire one fellow so that we can start the pilot. How? Because we have the program implementation plan for the school, for the teachers, for students, for the fellows also, to understand how the fellow is learning in the process. So we hired one fellow in the month of January, and now again we launched the fellowship to hire fresh fellows. We this time we're hiring 5 fellows. We'll be hiring 5 fellows, and hopefully this time we got good response from Don Bosco University. We got some good response on this. There are many applications which came from outside Assam, but since we are working in the government schools where language is Assamese, so it will be difficult for the people from outside to work in Assam. Not now, maybe in later stage we can take people from outside Assam, but now we are looking for people who have good knowledge of Assamese. Yeah.
Okay, so just about the language part, like your right now the pilot that you have done is in tea garden area. So
Yeah.
where like Assamese itself is a very challenge, like whether they will be more comfortable, speaking Hindi or like, so how are you handling the language issue in tea garden areas?
Yeah, currently it's like not only tea garden, we are working in tribal areas also,
Okay.
and most of them they can speak Assamese. That I know in some of the upper some tea, tea garden states, it's difficult because they speak.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
Sadri or Mundrai something, or like they would be
true.
they would be
Yeah,
more accessible through Hindi, like
true.
more than speaking in Assamese. So that itself, I feel in tea garden area is a huge challenge.
True. Yeah. But in Gopal Krishna, where we work, the challenge is little less. And see, one thing I mentioned in my PPT is that we are complementing the education system, not like creating parallel or here. And I understand because our funders also keep on uh, asking the same question what you are asking. So we have kept our bandwidth. We have kept our bandwidth to certain things where will work, and creating another language or you think. I think not now, maybe after 1 year, 2 years, when we grow, when the program grows, then we will think it's in our, we kept it in our mind for sure. A lot of time it came out to our discussion what you have said now, but for now we are just going with the Assamese, and then maybe next year we can think about it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, like, just I would like to know, like, you're basically focusing on primary schools. So,
Yes.
have you observed like change in dropout rate? Because in tea garden areas, dropout rates are huge. Like, they end up being like laborers, like,
Hmm,
or
hmm,
they are
hmm,
being pulled out of schools to take care of siblings. So,
hmm,
have
hmm.
you seen any, like, good practices, or like, like some changes have happened from the implementation of your project?
Yeah, see, few of the things when because we take it with a lot of feedbacks from the people and all, and also we resonate with us. So what we like in the school is like when we go, it should be not only learning, not about book, it's about fun learning. So one of the our main component is fun learning. We should have a lot of fun within where they can experience things and they can learn. So what I will just share, one of the example is that when we started extracurricular activities in the class and in the school, and there's a huge change in attendance, and most of the time TLMs were not used. It's a very fun
Yeah.
learning TLM, so we are using TLMs which make interest, so when during the end of the class we create an interest in the student for the next day. This is what we have able to do, so there are a lot of ways to do it. We started a Saturday club. In every Saturday, it's a day for extracurricular activities. Someone sing, someone draw, someone likes to make, make some wall paintings and all. So it's like free space. It's where they explore, the child explore whatever or she wants to, and this is how we created interest in the students to come to the class. And surprisingly, one of the school in which is called Amligar, there's an increase in enrollment also. we have we have introduced computers. I remember when I was interacting to the HM, and she said ki some of the parents came during enrollment and said, I saw the poster that you are going to start computer classes. So, are you really going to start a computer classes? If you're going to start the computer classes, I will send my child to your school. So, this kind of changes are happening, and it's a very slow, but changes are happening. I think you need to understand the needs of the parents as well as you need to understand the need of the child. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there is another question from Shantosh Prasad, Kumar Prasad. Like he's
Yeah.
asking, like, um, yeah, are your volunteers working in Arunachal also? Like, do you have any like projects right now in Arunachal?
See, I'm getting day before yesterday only. I got a call from someone from Naharlagan saying, "Do you want to work in our area?" Yeah, we really want to work in different states, but not in this year. I think, but maybe by next year, because there's a thing with the funding and everything. So, but definitely as soon as possible, as soon as feasible, and we will scale to other states, because we are getting requests from Arunachal and Nagaland also.
Okay, like that, it will be great. Like if you can share us any updates, or like we can put up in our
Yeah,
network, and
yeah,
like people would
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of
benefit
people
to
who
this.
would want to connect with you. So if you could just share your details with us, then maybe we could put that up on our Facebook page, and
yeah.
I think people can reach out because Santosh Kumar Prasad says he wants to join you. And I think
Mm.
there are questions also asking how students can intern at your organization
Yeah.
and how should they reach out to you. And
Yes, yes.
particularly at this time of the year, are there any such programs that you have initiated?
Mm.
Because physical presence and on ground, going and working in the field is not really a possibility.
Yeah.
So what could be the options and how do people reach out?
Yes. So we usually every year used to get interns from TFI who are fellows at the Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. They used to come and spend with us for like 2 months every year. So last year we had two fellows, and also currently one of the fellow is engaged with us in our research work. She is a fellow from Bangalore. So yeah, we have the opportunity. We have a lot of work to do. So yeah, if anyone is
There's
interested
another
for that,
person, Ruby Thakuria, saying
yeah,
she's worked in the area of education and has also done research on tea garden workers, and she's interested to work in this as well. So maybe she'll
sure,
get in
sure,
touch with you after this. Yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
just had one question. Like in your presentation, you mentioned about customization of your model, like
yeah,
because most of the problem in the development sector, so to say, is that we have a very much of a top down approach. So I
mm,
think your model is something that is trying for a bottom up approach where you're trying to contextualize things, but at the same time you also mentioned about how you're planning to scale up and you
yeah,
intend to take the same model
mm,
extending to various other locations in the Northeast.
yeah,
My question is something that would perhaps work in a in a tea garden locality or a tea garden school or a riverine area in Dhubri in Assam
mm,
may
mm,
not
mm,
necessarily work in Mizoram or Arunachal Pradesh.
yeah.
So in terms of that, what would be the steps that you plan to take, or how do you think of, how how do you intend to further
Yeah,
customize your model?
yeah,
Because that would be really crucial.
yeah. Thank you, Meenakshi, for this question. I have listening to this question for multiple times from multiple
Yeah,
people.
I
So
know.
thank you for bringing in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is connected to Milan's question also, how you approach funders. So I would just go. I will start with from the beginning. Like when I first time met the funder for the pilot phase, the same question like what Meenakshi said, that you want to scale for the entire Northeast, and how it can be possible because things are different, from geography to geography. So I said I will try to make my model very simple first, and second, it will be like a matchbox. You take it, my model, you implement it. And because of that, I used to get a lot of queries from the people who are in education space, who knows education much more than me. They said, you are only doing this thing. Why you are not doing this thing? Uh, this will increase your impact. So I say, no, my model should be like this, that if I go to interior of Arunachal, where you go for a walk for a whole day, the model should be replicable. It should be very simple, and it should be once we get a graduate, we'll get all the resources, and the person can execute it. So we try to make our model very simple, and that's why I'm saying we have made our own boundary that we'll do this much only. We won't go beyond this. So there are a lot of things that a lot of organizations are doing. A lot of organizations are very much doing on the teachers training, a very intensive teachers training. We are also doing teachers training, but not through an intensive program of like 1 week or something. We are doing through learning circles. After class, they will sit for like 1 or 2 hours. They will share the ideas. They will share the best practices, and our people will facilitate that so that they learn from them. It's also a part of teachers training, not having a very intensive workshop. So we try to make our program very simple so that it can be replicated. Definitely, we need to customize it as per the need, but I think customization will be required only 20 to 30%, not the entire program. Yeah.
Yeah, Nilakshi, I have another question. Like when we talk about, special, it's not a special area of like uh, all the 7 states, and like even in Assam we talk like we have tea gardens like Lower Assam, like it's a variety of population that we need to cater. So my thing is like, what is your view on like having a sadly speaking or like uh, a tea garden graduate being actually being implement brought it into the mainstream schools, like like how do you see it? Do you think it is a very possible viable solution to bridge the gap between like learning because their language starts from Sadri, then they have to come to Assamese, then they have to come to English. So if like the government wants to ask you for mm, like suggestions or like how to bring about the change in tea garden areas, do you think getting more people from the community to teach in mainstream school will be more helpful than they being just a supportive system?
I think the bringing the people from mainstream will be a better option, and so that they can understand the need, because at primary level you have to understand the context well. Otherwise, all the intervention won't work. So I think bringing from the mainstream, from the community will be a better. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Like anyone have?
Yeah, I think there's a important question by Ruby Thakuria. So he's asking, what are the low-cost ideas you're using, and is it making awareness among the parents inside the area you work? So how are you basically, particularly you mentioned about the tea gardens.
Yeah.
So how have you been, creating awareness about the entire model of the initiative, and also about low cost? She asked about low cost, low cost ideas that you've been
Yeah,
using in your model.
hello.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Ruby.
think
Yeah.
she's there. Ruby.
Yeah, hi. Actually, I was doing on research on this dropout only. So I come like I have been there and I have stayed with them. So I kind of I wanted to research on what are the things that we can do, because the possibilities are very less, because there are a lot of limitation. You just their parents, and whenever you go to them, they are just not interested to talk. They are just not interested to listen anything about it. I mean, I personally, because it was an individual research, I couldn't do much. So I was always wondering from 2018 that what, like, I have, trying to understand what can we do. Fun learning, I think that's something really work. But I was also thinking about the timing thing, because these parents doesn't have their timing of. I mean, the male parents are there mostly drunk, and then
Yeah.
the wives are like all they are working,
Yeah.
and then who will be the take who will take care of the children? They come, and I have seen some schools where they are not funded by government, so they are in a very bad situation, and they just come, eat and go. There is nothing happening in the name of education. They just come for the midday meal thing. So I just wanted to ask, is that any low cost ideas that are working to make them quality of education? And yeah, that, I mean, I think parents does play a huge role, but it's just the way it is. I mean, they are also very helpless, because they have to earn, and they have to take care of their children at the same time, but they are helpless, because they have to earn, they have to go to the, and children also, because they are out for the whole day long. They don't actually do not listen to their parents whenever like they are like 14 or after 10 or 11. So
Mm-hmm.
I just at that time I was like, oh, I don't know how to intervene. So I'm glad that people are thinking a lot of doing intervention. I also I wrote in the mail only, I say in chat only, that I also would like to work. I've been working on education and working on low cost ideas of education, quality education. I'm so sorry. Please, please just just
Yeah.
yeah, answer my question. That is the making awareness program among the parents is a part of your work, and
Yeah.
what are the low cost ideas you are?
Yeah. So just one thing you have to keep in mind is there's no concrete solution. It's like from parents to parents, it will be different. They take a lot of effort to uh, to bring the parents on board, and there is no such a specific solution for that. But the first point is, uh, I would say, it's a very non-technical. It's a relationship. You need to build a relationship with the student, with the uh, parents. For this is the first and foremost thing: building relationships. When you build a relationship, they will started listening to you, and once they start listening to you, they will start acting on it, what you suggest or what you propose. So I think the relationship is the first and foremost things, especially in tea garden areas. And when you go from outside, and when you talk to them, they should feel welcome. They should feel respected. Then only I think it will start moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So do
anything that I
any
missed?
one of them have any more questions? Like they can unmute and share or have question for Niladri can do.
I'll just add on something to that,
Yes,
what
yes, Minashi.
Niladri
Yeah,
just said.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think tea garden is an area which is not, I mean, not just for the sector of education, but it will continue to be challenging for whichever issue we are working in. And like everyone's been mentioning, the problems are enormous. There are a range of
Mhm.
problems that we need to address when we work in tea garden areas. And I mean, of course, there's this gloomy side of tea gardens and where things are not happening, and it really is, really, it's a very sorry state of affairs when we talk of children, child rights, and accessibility of services, healthcare, and everything. But also there are gardens who are doing amazing work, and this is, I think, where stakeholders coming together is something that becomes really crucial. It's not just civil society, but also sometimes management that needs to really have a goodwill to initiate efforts and these kind of models that you guys have been doing. So I think it's a collective effort. I believe. I just
Yeah.
wanted to add on to that. Yeah.
uh, can I say something? I just
Sure, sure.
had this in mind. So this happened. I won't. I mean, tell the district name. So what happened that I was working with the stakeholders, government officials, and then I took these stories from the garden workers, and I went to them, and I kind of give them an explanation. This is what happening. So I don't know. I see there is an okay, this is not because this is not a government thing, so I can directly say it. It's kind of like that ignorance. I have felt it there, that they just want to hide that. Okay, this is a school where there is only bamboo, bamboo made house, and there is just one classroom for the entire 5 class. They just wanted to hide that. They want to show what is good, what is that, roadside schools. So that's I feel that is very problematic. Again, I really agree that there are a lot of problems, and there are good things are also happening. But regarding the stakeholder, this is what I faced. I mean, that ignorance is a little, I mean, different. I mean, it can be different to other district as well. But this is from one of the district I have experienced. Yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, what you just mentioned is definitely, I mean, at some level, we all have faced that who have worked in tea gardens. And actually, we really need to find out ways by which, we can collaborate or we can find these networks or channels. Something that we have done in some of the tea gardens is that working with adolescent groups. So a lot of work can happen, things pertaining to, women's health and hygiene, or issues pertaining to water sanitation and hygiene. So these can be actually done through a lot of good work has also happened in districts in Upper Assam like Dibrugarh. They are doing amazing work through community radio in tea gardens. So it's not that things are absolutely, gloomy. So youth clubs or adolescent girls groups could be one way, or even there are a lot of these SSGs or women's groups that are
Yes.
functioning
Yes.
in most of these tea gardens.
Yeah,
So
mother clubs are
youth
there.
mothers clubs are there.
Yeah.
Then there are youth clubs. So actually mitigating and actually finding out these channels really need to be the areas that we should push for, I think.
Yeah, mothers clubs are very powerful
Yeah.
it's a body
Units,
within
bodies.
within the tea
How
gardens.
they-
I think
Sorry, like to interrupt. I just want to know, like, mother clubs plays a very important role in the wash component. So,
Yes.
in your project areas, how do you see those impact of mother group? And like
Yeah.
currently in pandemic area, like where
Yes.
wash have become a most crucial factor of
Yes.
keeping
Yes.
the virus. So how are you implementing it in your reach the unreached program?
So these volunteers are in touch with this SMCs and the other members. Like if there's an ASHA is there in the community, so
Yeah.
if they need a helping hand, then these volunteers are there to support. If they need to do a campaign or particular area, so we have our audio systems and all. They used to facilitate. So we're in the process of facilitation because now, because as per the government directives, you can't directly make your own statements on the so whatever the government or these ashas and all are doing, though, and mothers club are doing, so our volunteers are facilitating and they rely a lot in our volunteers. That's only the role that we're playing. But during the normal school days, when the schools are open and all, we have a separate curriculum for the health and hygiene, where we do a lot of activities. We do street plays with our children. We do hand washing campaign within the community, and we ensure everyone wash their hand before going to meal. So these are the activities that we do out of from our module of health and hygiene. But currently, we are only supporting SMCs and mother groups and all in conducting the awareness campaign.
Do any one of them have any more questions, or like we can wrap up the
I think we can wrap up. And Barsha has already given out the email ID ne8.connect@gmail.com. So those of you who want to reach out can definitely write to this email ID.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing session. I think you'll be bombarded with a lot of emails and phone calls after this. So this was really nice, and thank you so much. And also Milind mentioned that if you could really mention other people working in the field of education, so that would be good connections for the future.
Sure.
Pooja, if you would like to say anything.
Thanks Niladri for making your time for us and having this interactive session. It's been really helpful to know the various kinds of work, like particularly for me, tea garden and education there plays a very important role. Like I'm very deeply connected. So thanks to you for the sermon amount of work that you are doing out there, and wishing you all the best for future, like whatever projects that you take up, and we'll definitely be in touch. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you or do take up as a volunteer role, we would love to connect you to them.
Sure. Thank you, Pooja and Meenakshi. And I think some of the questions from Milan I couldn't answer because I was engaged in this other questions. So
It's okay. I think
yeah.
there's just one more question from Santosh. He says, I
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
question. So,
Yeah.
Santosh,
Yes, Santosh, you can unmute yourself. and ask
you
the
can
question.
unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Santosh.
Sir, sir, yes, sir. Sir, can I speak in Hindi?
Yes, आप बोल सकते हो, आप बोलिए.
सर क्या मतलब जैसे मैं सुना प्राइमरी स्कूल के बारे में आपने जितना भी काम कर रहे हैं जो कर रहे हैं वो तो सही है मतलब क्या आपका प्लानिंग प्राइमरी से आगे भी जाने का है मतलब फन लर्निंग को आगे थोड़ा मतलब जैसे सेकेंडरी लेवल या फिर हायर सेकेंडरी लेवल?
फिलहाल तो अभी नहीं है. बहुत सारे कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के साथ बात हुई थी बीच में कि हम लोग कैरियर काउंसलिंग का काम करेंगे और काम भी किए थे बीच में हम लोग, लेकिन वी आर मोर
Yes.
कंसंट्रेटेड इन प्राइमरी पे ही अभी कंसंट्रेट कर रहे हैं. मे बी लाइक 5 years 6 years डाउन द लाइन तक कुछ सोच सकते हैं, लेकिन अभी कुछ नहीं सोच रहे हैं फिलहाल.
यही पूछना था सर.
ठीक, थैंक यू.
That's all. And sir, Lavan, sir.
यस, बोलिए.
Hello.
बोलिए.
Yeah,
सर
audible.
मतलब मैं अभी तो मैं अरुणाचल में हूँ. जब तक ये कोविड का केस रहेगा उसके बाद मैं डिब्रूगढ़ शिफ्ट हो जाऊंगा. का स्टूडेंट.
ओके.
मतलब मैं हिंदी में फ्लुएंट हूँ तो अगर गार्डनर्स के साथ अगर काम का मौका मिले आपके थ्रू फिर अच्छा रहेगा सर.
ठीक है, आप टच में रहिए.
You should definitely write to him with the email ID that is provided. So
Yes.
directly you can contact.
Yes sir. Yes sir. Okay.
Thanks everyone for joining
That's
in.
all sir. Thank you sir.
And
Thank you. That's a
we
very
will be
nice
having
nation.
more sessions on education in the near future. So stay connected and we'll be putting everything up, all the details on our Facebook page. Thank you everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.